So real estate has historically been a white man's game, and not to go down that whole path,
Sure.
but to start to see so many people of color, so many more women involved in real estate. But because I have 2 daughters, and my daughters can then see that and say, that's possible for me too, right? Cool, you can do anything you want. You can be anything you want. Right?
Hey there, business enthusiasts. Welcome to the Chills Podcast, brought to you by All Weather Roof. Because just like a sturdy roof, our conversations are built to last. I'm your host, Brent Loberg, and we're about to dive into the world of business, family, and the moments that give us those exhilarating chills. Ever wonder what keeps successful people inspired? Well, get ready to find out as we chat with some fantastic all-weather customers, partners, vendors, and friends. We'll explore their triumphs, challenges, and maybe even some unexpected secrets. After all, business is not just about numbers. It's about the people behind them. So grab your metaphorical popcorn and join us on this journey. Get ready to be inspired, maybe even get a few chills of your own. This is the Chills Podcast. Let the goosebumps begin.
Okay, I'm Kjersten Jaeb. I am a Vice President of Asset Management with Healthpeak Real Estate, Healthpeak Properties. This is bad because we just merged with Healthpeak, and so I'm still remembering what our actual company name is.
Sure.
So it's Healthpeak Properties. We are a healthcare REIT. We own outpatient office medical buildings that essentially like where you would go see your doctor or dentist. We own a lot of ambulatory surgery centers if you're going to have a same-day surgery. And then we also own some critical care facilities. So the whole gamut between like memory care all the way up to long-term nursing homes. And we own those across the country. We also have a large lab component where we own the buildings where like a Pfizer might be developing a new COVID vaccine.
Got it. Okay. And are you guys always looking for new properties?
We are. We're always looking for new opportunities. Typically, lab is in a couple of markets. The rest of it is across the nation.
Okay. So how do people get in touch with you if they wanted to do business with you?
I would say the best way to get in touch with me is through LinkedIn. I've got a pretty big LinkedIn presence. And then we also have a great website with all of our investment team and then our investor relations. We are publicly traded.
Okay. And we can put that link in the podcast. So we can do that through YouTube and SoundCloud and all wherever the podcast is listed. So
that would be great.
So great. So thanks for coming in. So tell me a funny story about your industry or your new job over at Healthpeak.
A funny story. I will say a funny story is hard to come up with, except for the fact that I feel like everybody in real estate just falls into real estate. So when I got out of high school, I went to college like most people do, like what you're supposed to do. I lasted 1 football season. I was a cheerleader, and it was like, hey, this is football season. This is great. And then I realized this is not for me. I need a break.
Sure.
And then I realized real quick that you actually need a job to pay for things in the real world.
Yep.
That was a rude awakening. And so I found a headhunter recruiter that did solid placement, like just direct placement jobs. And I ended up as the admin at a company called Gone Companies at the Rand Tower downtown. And that's what started my real estate career back in 2003, 2004. So it's been a journey.
So it's real estate kind of like roofing. Once you're in, you're kind of in,
Kind of it. Yeah, my husband has said to me many times there's always ups and downs in a career. And he's told me, you could do anything. Why don't you just leave and do something else? Why don't you look at operations? Why don't you look at all of these other components in the business world? And my response is always, I love real estate. I love the actual buildings. I love the people that work in the buildings, that manage the buildings. I love making those things better for everybody involved. If you're coming to an office building to work day after day, if you're coming to an ambulatory surgery center with your mom to get her hip replaced, I'm serving you by owning that building.
Yeah.
And so it's a real estate bug.
Sure. And where are you from, Minnesota originally?
I am.
Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Eden Prairie and then moved to Golden Valley with my husband and just been kind of a Hennepin County girl my whole life.
So you live right in Golden Valley?
I do.
Oh.
Just down the road. It was pretty easy to find you guys.
Yeah, for sure. What does your husband do?
My husband's a private investigator by trade.
Okay.
He owns his own company. So they do a lot of business due diligence. Like, let's say you were going to get into business with someone else. He'd help you look at those people to understand if they really are who they say they are.
Got it. Okay.
Not the really spy stuff.
Okay. So I can't hire a Bernie private.
No, he's not that kind.
All right. Anything interesting going on with your family?
We have 3 kids. Our oldest is 12. He just got back from a month in the Boundary Waters.
Okay.
So that was a pretty cool experience for him.
Was it a camp?
It was a camp.
Okay.
First thing he said to me when I picked him up is that I got a big hug, unsolicited, and then, Mom, I'm going for 8 weeks next year.
Oh, wow.
I thought, okay, so I'm ready for that, but okay. And then our daughters, one is an all-star cheer. So she is
Call it your big steps.
I was not that kind of cheerleader, but yeah, she's definitely doing it. And then our youngest is in club volleyball. So we are constantly busy.
Okay. How about interesting stuff going on with the company right now? I know you said you just had a merge.
Yeah. The merger was a big deal for us. We just announced our Q2 earnings, and we were really happy with those. It was positive thing for the company to see actually these first quarter of both companies together successful and doing what we said we would do when we announced the merger. We had a couple of big dispositions during the second quarter that were really exciting. And one of them we're still committed to as a property manager, which is different for us because we're an owner, not a third-party management company.
Okay.
But we're learning that business as we go.
Sure. And where are you guys based out of?
That's a really interesting question. So most of our leadership is scattered throughout the country. I'm here, obviously, in Minneapolis. We have an operations headquarters, if you will, in Franklin, Tennessee, basically Nashville. And then we have a lab component in Irvine, and then our CEO offices in Denver.
Okay.
We are all over the place.
All over. Okay. So the name of the podcast is The Chills. So we talked a little bit about how you got involved with real estate and now you're kind of stuck into it. Like what aspect of your business or real estate kind of gives you those feel good, like chills here set on the back of your neck or in your arm?
I think for me, it's when I see someone finally get the real estate bug and understand that it's not just a job. It really truly is a career, and then what it can do for them personally as well as professionally. So real estate has historically been a white man's game, and not to go down that whole path,
Sure.
but to start to see so many people of color, so many more women involved in real estate. I'm very heavily involved in BOMA International, BOMA Minneapolis as well, but I was just sworn in as the vice chair of BOMA International, and I will be the 4th woman in 100 plus years to hold that chair title.
Oh, wow.
Which that gives me the chills, not for me personally, but because I have 2 daughters, and my daughters can then see that and say, that's possible for me too, right? I mean, we're probably roughly the same age, and I'm sure you grew up like, oh, you can do anything you want. You can be anything you want, right? Everybody told us that. You don't really get to that unless you actually see someone in that role. So that gives me the chills.
Do you like to be a role model?
I do. Yeah.
Like, how about training as far as bringing people along? Like you said, you like to see people get that bug. Is that kind of a training thing for you as well, like in teaching?
It is. For me, mentorship is huge. When I talk about what gets me up in the morning with my job, it's not as much as I love real estate, as much as I love the properties we own. It's not that. It's the fact that every day I get to help the team, my team, and the broader team become better at what they do.
Okay. And you're the VP. How many people are on your team?
I have 2 directly on my team, and then we have a much broader team across my market. So I've got states like Michigan, Ohio, Connecticut, New York. I've got a kind of the Midwest into the Upper East Coast. And so there's teams in each of those states that then help us. There's probably 30 people or so.
Okay. So what separates your company from other competitors that do the same thing that you do?
The REIT world is very different than traditional real estate firms. And that's what I'm learning. I've only been in the REIT world for a couple of years. When I think about a Cushman or a CB, at times it can feel very cutthroat. I think the REIT world is also cutthroat because we're publicly traded. So we're all competing for those same shareholders. But on the same side of that coin, the REIT world feels very collaborative. I feel like I can go to someone at Welltower, which is a massive healthcare REIT, and say, all right, I'm dealing with this in this market. I know you have a big presence in this market. What are you doing here? What works for you in this regard? And you could probably do the same at a Cushman or a CB, but sometimes those corporate worlds just feel a little bit more closed off internally.
Okay. Very cool. How about something you can share with the audience as far as somebody getting into real estate or entrepreneurship? What piece of advice can you give them?
Yeah. Would say the best piece of advice I can offer is find someone you can talk to and bounce ideas off of, and not to be afraid to have candid conversations. That's something that I've been really learning over the last few years, is to truly just lean into being candid. In every aspect of your life, personal, professional, it will serve you so well. In terms of real estate specifically, understand what runs a building. A building is not just four walls and a roof. There's so much more that comes into the building, and a lot of it you don't see. And if you don't understand those components, you don't have to know how to fix them. But at least understanding generally what they are will make you a much better property and asset manager.
So you rely heavily on your operations.
I do. Yep.
Yeah, we always say with the roofs out of sight, out of mind, you don't really know what's going on until there's water dripping on.
Exactly. It's the same thing in property management or asset management. It's so much, it's the stuff behind the house. It's not sexy. No one wants to spend money on a rooftop unit or on a heat pump. But that's the stuff that keeps people happy. And at the end of the day, if you have happy tenants, they're going to stay in your buildings. So,
yeah, being proactive versus reactive is huge. I like it.
Yeah.
How about something at home with your family that gives you the chills?
So I'm obviously a very driven person. And I will say, for me, it's been a learning process over the last number of years to really figure out how to separate my professional life from my personal life. My family has always been my top priority, but I want to make sure that they understand that they're priority 1A, not just priority number 1. And that even though I may be working crazy hours sometimes, they still know that at the end of the day, they are my number 1 priority. My husband is the most incredible partner I could ask for. We just did a big deal, and I was working 60, 80 hours a week for a long time. Multiple weeks, months on it. And as hard as that was on me personally, he was able to be there and help me and support me. And he knew, all right, we're going to get through this period. I'm going to be there. I'm going to help. I'm going to be the partner that really makes sure you have what you need so that you can do this for our family. But then also you can do it for yourself. You can be this role model for our kids. They see that it's not just mom coming home from work every day and doing everything at home. It's seeing mom and dad do that stuff.
Sure. And was there a moment in your life where that was a struggle for you too?
Oh, absolutely. I think if you ask anybody that's been married for a time or that has kids and has gone through that preschool age, they will tell you it is the hardest phase of life. We're going to celebrate our 15th anniversary in October. So we've definitely gone through ups and downs. We've had personal family issues. We've had extended family issues. Life is hard. Everybody experiences those challenges in life, but it's what you do with them and how you handle them together, whether that's a partner, a spouse, a best friend. You just have to have someone in your corner.
So how do you feel like you got to the place of harmony where you're at now with your flight bed?
A lot of talking, a lot of really candid, honest conversations. And sometimes you just have to have those brutal, honest moments where you're just like, this is what it is. I'm mad at you right now.
Yeah.
And that's okay, right? Like learning the fact that happiness is not a state of being. It's an emotion that we feel.
Yeah.
We don't have to be happy, and we won't be happy all the time. But if we can understand that it's going to be fleeting, just like every other emotion, and feel those emotions, it will make a huge difference.
You sure can't enjoy the sweet pill this hour?
You sure can't. Nope.
Did I miss anything as far as your company or anything at home you'd like to share?
I would just say, I think the biggest thing that I want to impart to anybody that's out there is that just keep swimming. Not to sound like Dory from Finding Nemo, but just keep swimming. When it's hard, just have to keep going.
I hear a lot of teaching and like mentorship and just talking with you about your family and your job and BOMA.
Thanks. Yeah, it truly is a passion of mine. I've had people ask what my next career move could be or would be. And for me, it has to be something that is bigger than just a market. It has to be mentorship, development based, but still really focused on property, asset management, real estate, because that's what I grew up in and that's what I love. Yeah.
Thanks for coming in.
Absolutely.
Yeah, this was fun.
This was. Thank you.
And that's a wrap, folks. A huge thank you to our incredible guests and, of course, All Weather Roof for making this podcast possible. If you enjoyed these conversations as much as we did, don't forget to hit subscribe and share the chills with your fellow business aficionados. Remember, it's not just about business, it's personal, and it's all about the people. Stay inspired, chase those dreams, and let the chills guide you. Till next time, this is Brent, signing off from the Chills Podcast. Catch you on the flip side.